Hey, welcome back for another outdoor recipe. This time I'm going to show y'all a seafood hobo meal, one of my favorites. A hobo meal is simply a foil-packed meal cooked over some coals. You see, for a good portion of my life, I always lived by the sea. It was common for us to forage the coastline or snorkel, gathering crustaceans like crab, shrimp, even shellfish like mussels and oysters. Then wrap them up in foil and spices and cook them up on the hot coals on the beach. Now I'm landlocked in New Mexico, but that doesn't mean I cannot have the same seafood hobo meals that I did when I was younger. So let's get started. Please refer to the description for the list of ingredients. The beauty of this recipe when it comes to seafood is you can use anything you really want. So for this cook, let's start off with some corn, some pre-cooked crawfish, add some pre-cooked mussels, parsley, let's not forget the French bread, potatoes, artificial crab meat, and shrimp. Now remember, when we're working with coals and fire, you should always protect yourself by wearing some fire retardant gloves. This way you can avoid yourself from getting burnt. I love cooking outdoors on open coals. If you think about it, this is the most primitive way of cooking. Alright, while the fire's going, let's chop up those potatoes. Also, let's prepare the artificial crab meat. Hey, here's some trivia. Did you know that the artificial crab meat is actually real fish called pollock? Bet you didn't know that. While you're thinking about that, go ahead and slice your bread into thin slices. Don't forget to tend to your fire and manage your coals. Now let's prep some garlic and parsley. Now for my base, you gotta have butter. So I'll take about a half a stick of butter and put it in a saucepan. Later I'll hit it with some salt, some pepper, and I'll put some of that garlic and parsley in it. You could even use Old Bay or whatever spices you want. Then I'm going to set it off and put it by the heat so it'll start to render or melt. Now while we got the wood burning for the coals and the butter next to the heat for rendering, I like to start off the foil pack with 2 strips of foil. That way it's thicker in the bottom and not prone to puncture. We want the liquids to collect and not drain out. That's what we're going to dip our bread in later. Now obviously, being landlocked in New Mexico, I can't forage for fresh seafood on the beach. Instead I use the next best thing, pre-cooked mussels, crawfish, and shrimp that I can get from the local grocery. For this cook though, I was able to find some fresh shrimp. Really though, the selection of seafood's up to you. You can even add clams or give it a Cajun twist with Cajun spices and sausages. Here I kept it simple with potatoes, imitation crab meat, parsley, garlic, and little pieces of corn on the cob. Then we'll hit it with kosher salt, garlic powder, pepper, and mixed herbs. On a side note, the size of this hobo meal would feed 4 people. Naturally, use less if you're going to feed less people. But if I was going to feed more than 4 people, I'd make 2 packets just like this one. Now I'll slice a lemon in half and squeeze the lemon juice over the whole package. Next, I'll add about 4 or 5 tablespoons of butter into the package. Lastly, I'll give it about a cup of white wine. It is important to wrap up the seafood hobo meal tightly. We want to keep the steam inside the package. Oh yeah, look at that butter rendering nicely. Now that the coals are ready, it's time to throw on the seafood hobo meal. Keep on the coals for about 20 to 30 minutes for this size package. I'd say about 15 minutes for a package half the size. Alright, let's take that delicious butter and prep our bread. Take that butter mixture and just start smearing it on the surface of the bread. Ooh, look at that. Butter porn. Then hit the bread with some salt and garlic powder. Well, it's been about 25 minutes. So we're going to remove off the coals and check for doneness. During this time, we're going to take the bread and toast them over the coals. You got to pay attention here and be relatively fast or you'll burn your bread. Now let's get back to the Hobo seafood package. Look at that. All done. Really nice. We're going to take the rest of the butter and garlic and pour it over the package. Hit it with the other half of the lemon. Give a taste test on the sauce in the bottom with the bread. Well, I gotta take this package inside. I got 4 hungry mouths to feed. I appreciate your time and I hope you try this recipe. Thank you. Till next time.